Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Principles of Marketing. We are now at our 10th week, and for this week, our topic is gathering and using information. So, through marketing research and marketing intelligence. So, for this week, we will describe the components of marketing information system and each component's purpose. Also, we will describe the basic steps in the market research process and the purpose of each step. So let's proceed to our discussion. So upon gathering and using information, we need to do marketing research and marketing intelligence. So we have the marketing information system, or MIS, and it is a way to manage vast amount of information firms that have on hand information marketing professionals and managers need to make good decisions. So basically, a certain amount of marketing information is being gathered all the time by companies as they engage in their daily operations. And when a sale is made and recorded, this is marketing information that's being gathered. When a sales representative records the shipping preferences of a customer in a firm's customer relationship management, or CRM system, this is also marketing information that's being collected. And when a firm gets a customer complaint and records it, this too is information that should be put to use. And all of this data can be used to generate consumer insight. However, truly understanding customers involve not just collecting quantitative data related to them, but also qualitative data such as comments about what they think. And ideally, marketing information systems range from paper-based systems to very sophisticated systems. And however, a marketing information system should include the following components. We have a system for recording internally generated data and reports. We also have a system for collecting market intelligence on an ongoing basis, and also marketing analytics software to help managers with their decision making, and a system for recording marketing research information. So once we have gathered all the data and reports, we will now internally generate the data and reports. And usually an organization generates and records a lot of information as part of its daily business operations, including sales and accounting data and data on inventory levels, back orders, customer returns, and complaints. Firms also constantly gathering information related to their websites, such as clickstream data. So basically, clickstream data is generally a data generated about the number of people who visit a website and its various pages, how long they dwell in there, and what they buy or don't buy. Companies use clickstream data in all kinds of ways. They use it to monitor the overall traffic of visitors that a site gets, to see which areas of the site people aren't visiting and explore why, and to automatically offer visitors products and promotions by virtue of their browsing patterns. Software can be used to automatically tally the vast amounts of clickstream data gathered from websites and generate reports for managers based on that information. So, and we also have analytics software, and increasingly, companies are purchasing analytics software to help them pull and make sense of internally generated information. Analytics software allows managers who are not computer experts to gather all kinds of different information from a company's database information not produced in reports regularly generated by the company. Oh, basically, the software incorporates regression models, linear programming, and other statistical methods to help managers answer those what if questions or type of questions. So these are for analytics software. And now we have gathered and used information using marketing research. we are going to discuss marketing intelligence. And for this one, a good internal reporting system can tell a manager what happened inside his or her firm. But what about what's going on outside the firm? What is the business environment like? Are credit lending terms loose or tight, and how will they affect what you and your customers are able to buy or not buy? How will rising fuel prices and alternate energy sources affect your firm and your products? And do changes as this present business obstacles or opportunities? Moreover, what are your competitors up to? So if you are not gathering market intelligence, so it leaves a company vulnerable. So we have here an example. Remember Encyclopedia Britannica, the market leader in print encyclopedia business for literally centuries. So this Encyclopedia Britannica didn't see the digital age coming, and they didn't see the digital age coming, and they nearly went out of business as a result. So basically, also another example is the we have here the Southwest Airlines. So for this one, Southwest Airlines was prepared because they had anticipated the problem regarding the fuel prices, and they early on locked in contracts to buy fuel for its planes at much lower prices. Other airlines weren't as prepared and lost money because their fuel expenses skyrocketed. So meanwhile, Southwest Airlines managed to eke out a profit and they have collected market intelligence. So by collecting market intelligence, it can also help a company generate ideas or product concepts that can be tested by conducting market research. And so how do we gather, or how do we get market intelligence? We gather market intelligence by involving a lot of number of activities, including scanning newspapers, trade magazines, and economic data produced by the government to find out about trends and what competition is doing. In big companies, personnel in a firm's marketing department are primarily responsible for their firm's market intelligence and making sure it gets conveyed to decision makers. Some companies that subscribe to news service companies that regularly provide them with this information. So other companies also subscribe to mystery shopping services, and companies that shop a client or competitors and report on service practices and service performance. So now let's examine some of the sources of information you can look at to gather market intelligence. We have here sites. So it is an obvious way to gain market intelligence, and obviously it is by examining your competitors' websites as well as doing basic searches with search engines like Google. So if you want to find out what the press is writing about your company, your competitors, or any other topic you're interested in, you just need to sign up to receive free alerts via email by going to Google Alerts. So this is one way of gathering market intelligence. Also, one way to gather market intelligence is through publications. And for publications, they provide information about marketplace trends and activities in specific industries. So they provide a lot of issues, relevant issues also, and relevant information regarding to specific organization or a company. So basically, some publications that are good to read are the Economist, Wall Street Journal, Forbes magazine, Fortune, Business Week, the McKinsey report, Sales and Marketing Management, and the Financial Times. And then another one, a strategy to gather market intelligence is trade shows and associations. And this is another way companies learn about what their competitors are doing. And if you are a marketing professional working a trade show for your company, you will want to visit all of your competitors' booths and see what they have to offer relative to what have you are about to offer as well. Another strategy or sources of information that we could gather some market intelligence is through salespeople, and a company salespeople provide a vital source of market intelligence. And of course, they are the eyes and ears of their organizations, and perhaps more than anyone else, they know how products are faring in the marketplace, what the competition is doing, and what customers are looking for. And another source of information is the suppliers and industry experts, and they can provide a wealth of information, and good suppliers know which companies are moving a lot of inventory, and oftentimes they have an idea why. In many instances, they will tell you if the information you're looking for is general enough, so they don't have to divulge any information that's confidential or that would be unethical to reveal. So often these people are in the know because they get invited to review products as well. And another source of information is, of course, customers. So lastly, when it comes to market intelligence, don't neglect observing how customers are behaving. They can provide many clues, some of which you will be challenged to respond to. For example, during the latest economic downturn, many wholesalers and retailers noticed consumers began buying smaller amounts of goods, just what they needed to get by during the week. Seeing this trend and realizing that they couldn't pass along higher costs to customers is a number of, and realizing that they couldn't pass along higher costs to customers, and a number of consumer goods manufacturers shrank their products slightly rather than raise their prices. So you have perhaps noticed that some of the products you buy got smaller but not cheaper. So these are the sources of information that we might have to gather some market intelligence. Now, how are we going to do marketing research? So we have steps in marketing research process, and these are the chances of making good decisions to improve when the right information is provided at the right time. And in order to attain this goal, the marketing researcher should follow several steps. Now we have here, the first step is to formulate the market research problem. And in many ways, research starts with the problem that management is facing. This problem needs to be understood, the cause, diagnose, and the solutions to develop. A management problem must be first translated into a research problem. And basically, the research problem, and on the other hand, of course, provides the information needed in order to solve the management problem. So once the problem is given an approach from a research angle, finding a solution is easier. And the next step is statement of research objectives. And for this one, you need to, after identifying and defining the problem, and you have formulate the research problem, now the research must take a formal statement. And for this one, such objectives may be stated in qualitative and quantitative terms and expressed as research questions, statements, or hypotheses. So what is to find out the extent to which sales promotion schemes affected by the sales volume, we need to formulate this hypothesis. And hypothesis is a statement that can be refuted or supported by empirical findings. And once the hypothesis or the objectives are developed, the researcher is ready to choose the research design. So the research design is the third step for the marketing research process. So again, we have formulate the market research problem. We have stated the research objective, and then now we are going to do the research design, and it is basically the plan or framework for conducting the study and collecting the data, and it is defined as the specific methods and procedures used to acquire the information needed. Also, it represents a framework for the research plan of action. And there are three types of research design. We have the exploratory research, descriptive research, and casual research. And basically for research design, the objectives of the study are included in the research design to ensure that the data collected are relevant to the objectives. And during this stage, the researcher should also determine the type of sources of information needed and the collection data method and possible cause of research. Now, let's discuss exploratory research, and basically it is used in cases where the marketer has little or no understanding about the research problem due to lack of proper information. And the marketer needs to use exploratory market research to gain discover or insights about his or her situation. Thus, when the goal of the marketer is to precisely formulate problems, clear concepts, and gain insights, now he or she may be able to eliminate impractical ideas and form hypothesis, then exploratory research is used. Also, for exploratory research, it follows an unstructured format and it makes use of qualitative techniques, secondary research, and expert opinions. Now, for descriptive research, it is used to explain, monitor, and test hypotheses created by marketers to help them find accurate answers. It is a rigid, well-structured, and well-planned, and uses quantitative techniques like questionnaires, structured interviews, data analysis, and so on and so forth. So basically, the questions being asked are, who are users of my products or services? How are they using my products and services? What proportion of population uses my products and services? What is the future demand for my products and services? And who are all my competitors? So the last research design is the casual research, and for this one, it is used by marketers to find cause and effect relationship of variables. It is also sometimes referred as if-then method. And basically for this one, casual researchers use field and laboratory experimentation techniques to achieve goals. This research is used by marketers mainly to predict test hypotheses. So here are the cases where casual research can be used. Basically, what will happen to the sale of my product if I change the packaging of the product? What will happen to sale of my product if I change the design of my product? And last is, what will happen to sale of my product if I change the advertising? So these are some cases where casual research can be used. Now, the fourth step for marketing research process is planning the sample. And Sampling involves procedures that use a small number of items or parts of the population to make conclusion regarding the population. So for this one, we have the probability method, and it relies on random sampling of everyone within a larger population. Basically, a marketing research project will rarely examine an entire the population through that probability method, and it's more practical to use a sample which is smaller but accurate representation of the greater population in order to design a sample. So a researcher must find an answers to these questions. Basically, questions are: from which base population is the sample to be selected? What is the method or the process for sample selection? And what is the size of the sample? So upon knowing who the relevant population is established, there is already a base for the sample. This will allow the researcher to make inferences about a larger population. There are two methods of selecting a sample population. Again, we have from probability method, we have the simple random sampling and stratified sampling. For simple random sampling, it refers to any sampling method that has the following properties. So for this one, the population consists of n subjects and the sample consists of n subjects. And if all possible samples of n subjects are equally likely to occur, the sampling method is called simple random sampling. And another sampling method for probability method is the stratified sampling. And for stratified sampling, the population is divided into groups based on some characteristics. And then within each group, a probability sample, often a random sample, is selected. And in stratified sampling, the groups are called strata. So take note of that. Stratified is strata. Then so basically for this one, they are divided into groups and with some characteristics. The next sampling for probability method is the cluster sampling, and with this one, every member of the population is assigned to one and only one group, and each group is called cluster from the word cluster samplings. A sample of clusters is chosen using a probability method, often simple random sampling. Only individuals within the sampled clusters are surveyed. Next sampling is the multi-stage sampling, and for this one, a sample is selected by using combinations of different sampling methods. So for example, in stage 1, the researcher might use sample random sampling to select a subset of elements from each chosen cluster for the final sample. So there is a combination of different sampling methods. And last sampling method for probability method is the systematic random sampling. And for this one, the researcher creates a list of every number of the population. So from the list, he or she randomly selects the first sample element from the first k elements on the population list. Thereafter, he selects every kth element on the list, and this method is different from simple random sampling since every possible sample of n elements is not equally likely. So again, for probability method, we have simple random sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, multi-stage sampling, and systematic random sampling. Now, the other method for planning the sample is non-probability method. And for this one, we have only two types of non-probability method. And basically for non-probability method, it is based in part on the judgments of the researcher and often employs convenience samples or by the other sampling methods that do not rely on probability. So these are just basically judgments coming from the word non-probability. So it's so they do not, or the method does not rely on probability. So here are some types of non-probability methods of sampling. We have the voluntary sample and convenience sample. So voluntary sample is made up of people who self-select into the survey. Often, these folks have a strong interest in the main topic of the survey. So suppose, for example, that a news show asks viewers to participate in an online poll. This would be a volunteer sample. The sample is chosen by the viewers, not by the survey administrator. Next, non-probability method of sampling is the convenience sample. And for this one, it is made of people who are easy to reach. So let's consider the example. A researcher interviews shopper at a local mall. If the mall was chosen because it was convenient site from which to solicit survey participants and or because it was close to the researcher's home or business, this would be a convenience sample. So again, for non-probability method, we have two types of methods of sampling. We have the voluntary sample and convenience sample. Now, the fifth step in the marketing research process is the data collection techniques. And for this one, the collection of data relates to the gathering of facts to be used in solving the problem. Hence, methods of market research are essentially methods of data collection. So there are two kinds of data. We have the secondary data and primary data. So for secondary data, these are facts and figures that have already been recorded before the marketing research project. Data that are secondary can be collected from concern reports, magazines, and other periodicals, especially written articles, government publications, company publications, books, etc. And these are two sources of secondary data, which are the internal and external sources. Internal sources include data that exists and stored inside the organization, while external data is data that are collected by other people and or organizations. So, external environment. And the other kind of data that we have is the primary data. And basically, these are facts and figures that are newly collected for the marketing research project. Data that are primary can be collected from the original base through empirical research by means of various tools. And there are many ways to collect data. We have two important methods to consider. So we have the interviews and the observation. So let's first discuss interview. For this one, interviews required a researcher to ask questions and receive response. Common modes of research communication include interviews conducted face-to-face by mail, by telephone, by email, or over the internet. This broad category of research techniques is known as survey research. And basically, these techniques are used in non-experimental and experimental research. Another way of collecting data again is observation. So by observing a person's or a company's past or present behavior, it can predict future purchasing decisions. And through data collection techniques or past behavior, it can include analyzing company records and reviewing studies published by external sources. So again, for data collection techniques, we have two kinds of data. We have secondary data and primary data, and we have two important methods to consider in collecting data. We have the interview and observation. And the sixth step in marketing research process is analysis and interpretation. So in order for data to be useful, they must be analyzed, and analysis techniques vary and their effectiveness depends on the type of information collected and the type of measurement to be used. Because they are dependent on the data collection, analysis techniques should be decided before this step. And the last step for marketing research process is the marketing research report. And the marketing research process culminates with the research report. This report will include all the information, including accurate description of the research process and the results, the conclusions, and the recommend courses of action. And basically, the report should provide all the information the decision maker needs to understand the project. And it should also be written in language that is easy to understand, because since you have done all the steps in your marketing research process, now you are doing the report. So basically, it's important to find balance between completeness and conciseness, and you don't want to leave any information out. And also, you can't let the information get so technical also, so it would not overwhelm the reading audience. So again, the seven steps in marketing research is formulating the marketing research problem, statement of research objectives, research design, planning the sample, data collection techniques, analysis and interpretation, and the marketing research report. So these are the steps in marketing research process. So for this week, we have two activities. We have matching type and also marketing application. So you may answer both activities, but I will only require you to submit activity 1. So matching type, total of 10 items, match column A with column B, and write the best answer of your choice in capital letter. So we have some references and suggested reading, so it's just the same. So we have Principles of Marketing from Mindshapers Co. Inc. from Morales Street, Intramuros, Manila, written by Pedrito Royal Pearda, Purissima Pedrialva Pereda, and Dr. Vicente M. Castillo. Also, we have um, a website. So I'll just post the website to our GC as well. So these are some suggested readings also for this week's topic lesson. So if you have any questions regarding our lesson, don't hesitate to ask me. You may reach me personally through Facebook, or you may send a direct message to me through Facebook Messenger. So again, before ending this lesson, I would like to say thank you everyone and share a Bible verse from the book of Mark, chapter 9, verse 23. Said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. So thank you once again, everyone, and God bless.